listening to the Alchemy Annex, powered by Celestial Intersections, here on Blog Talk Radio or YouTube, wherever the heck you're watching us. I'm Ernesto. I'm your host. I'll be with you for the next hour or so here. And we have a couple of guests here on the line. Of course, we have always the lovely Veretta, and we will be catching up with Amanda today, who is going to be talking to us about an obscure emotional release technique that can really absolutely change your life. We'll get into that in just a moment. But before we do, Veretta, what is it that we need to know for about the next week and a half? We won't be back with you guys again until our next regular call-in show on the 27th, which will be on Thursday from 6 to 7 Arizona time. That's in the evening, so give us a call back then if you do have any specific questions you'd like to have answered. But until then, from now until the 27th, Veretta, what is it that we need to know?
Now's the time to start really getting rid of the things, or purging or cleansing, if you will, in the nooks and crannies, and get everything out that you may have missed, and do a good thorough cleaning and the result with some sage and then a vibration enhancer there very, very, very quickly after. I think a lot of people are going to have to, anybody that knows metaphysical and applies that to their daily life is going to have an interesting, entertaining next week and a half, or however much longer, 10 days, 8, 11 days, I guess, because they're going to witness, if you will, the people that are just on that border of wanting to give in and go spiritual and be very connected to the awe and know how to take care of themselves. They're right there, want to. They just don't trust that that's something that they can hang with. And are they going to be abused like they would do others when you get critical about someone else in the awe zone? So people don't look at anything outside of their circle right now, and that's going to be amusing to those of us that do. And we're going to see them. We're going to see them fall. We're going to see them struggle. We're going to see them, try to manifest. Some of them we're going to see make a success. And those are the ones that we'll give our energy to, not because the other ones don't deserve it, but because you give your all to something that's willing to give its all back. So this whole week is about compromise. This whole week is about maybe watching others on a really difficult journey, and giving them a hand with that, if you could. And then I think for the rest of us that can kind of see the show going on around us, I think we'll thicken our boundaries more or less. I think we'll be a little bit less, or try to be a little bit less in tune with others and more in tune with self. And we will be in that space of acceptance and tolerance and forgiveness, just all by ourselves, if that's due and warranted in that life cycle right then. So we've got a lot, depending upon where your realm of energy lies, we've got a lot of entertainment coming from a point of view of just don't giggle about it and help them a little bit. That's a little hypocritic to be to abuse people when they're down. And don't take hostages just because you want more people to assume a position of authority on yourself. Just stand back and watch. Just stand back and watch. Don't interfere unless they ask, and unless they're really struggling to get that 1 foot over the wall. Give them a little bit of a crunch. Keep going, but don't do it for them. And so we're going to be active, us being the ones that will be watching. I will be watching only because that's a healer's trait, and you want to heal it if it needs fixing. But I also know I need to apply it to myself. So there's a boundary there, setting boundaries and really make them solid, thickening up our walls and not, feeling like the bleeding heart that we could if we just watched everybody crumble around us. We're going to need to go somewhere solo and just rebalance. So it's not really jam-packed, but it could be very busy.
I always like to go through this with you, just because on our last show you were talking a little bit about something was going to happen by the end of Friday night, and this is in this last week period. So something would happen Friday night that would that we needed to sort of be aware of, and that would be an issue that we would be working with. It's funny because I went out to play some games with some friends and I had a blast. I had a great time, right? But
Yay.
nowhere in any of that process was I ever paying attention to the fact that these chairs are death. These chairs are killing my back right now. Did I get up and take a stretch every 30 minutes like I should have? No, because I was enjoying myself so much. That wasn't necessary. But then when I ended up leaving the venue, I was like, oh my God, I can barely move. These chairs are killer. So I just thought that was interesting that you mentioned that something would happen Friday night that we would have to pay attention to and that would become an issue on the forefront. And it definitely was, because even though I didn't really, even though I didn't consume much of anything except for root beer that night, the entire next day just felt like a hangover. And I was just so out of it yesterday. And it was just because I had to take the time and take care of myself. And I hate having to do that. I don't mind integrating it into my day-to-day routine, but when I have to take a personal day just because I have had too much, it basically feels like punishment because I don't know what the heck I'm supposed to do and I don't have the motivation to do it either.
Right. And that's the point right there. You don't have the motivation. You don't know what to do, so you're not supposed to do a dang thing. Just sit back and coast through the weather of whatever's going on and kind of watch it. Don't engage it. Just now you learned power of cause and reaction like overnight, and you understand wholeheartedly what it is to observe in your core setting what you need to have a healthy body. And right, you didn't. You just chose to keep doing whatever you were doing, which was having fun, and that's not a bad thing. But when you know enough that you're supposed to stand up every few minutes and stretch, or take a break, take a breather, then shame on you. And okay, we'll just start over, and you'll work your way back up to I'm valid chain, and I don't need to hurt myself or let anybody else abuse me. So yeah, no, thanks. I'll pass.
We have a jam-packed show today. We have so much to get to you guys today, so I'm really super excited to be here. Let's go ahead and get started right away. Today we're going to be talking about the healing arts. Now, as I said in the show introduction, there are two sides to every coin. So in order for there to be healing, there has to be pain. Now, interestingly enough, the planet that we use, Hades, that deals with our occultisms, with things like psychic matters, with things like Uranian astrology, these things can all be used for all the wrong reasons, obviously, and we can end up with things like narcissism or damage or abuse. All of those really difficult dark words, they're all associated with Hades, but at the same time, all of the healing energies that we use to fix those problems come from the exact same planet. So by transmuting our own energy and our own frequencies from where we are in the moment, if there's something you don't like about yourself that you might find unpleasant, what happens when you change that narrative, that story that keeps repeating itself over and over again? And by doing so, we release so much that we never even knew that was possible. Me and this whole metamorphosis that I'm going through, and I've been going through the past year or so, I have decided to take some major strides on working on myself and fixing those things that everybody has been screaming to me about, but I've just chosen to ignore because I'm too good for it, or I'm brokering in BS, so I don't need to do those things. And by me choosing to address my own issues, it's really unlocked all sorts of things. Now, we were going to talk about the concept of medical planets and Uranian astrology because that is definitely a thing. That's a separate lesson from today. That's an entire presentation, actually. So for the sake of time, I'm going to sort of jet tour this and just show you really quick here on our document by our very own beloved Ruth Drummond, Planets and Trans-Neptunians, that we have all of the major planets, like these are personal points that we're looking at, the Aries point, midheaven ascendant. But once we get into the actual planets, like the sun, the moon, the node, Mercury, etc., then what we start to find is that she writes PSY, which means psychological. This is sort of like, these are the things that we choose for ourselves. We could be one or the other. And then it'll manifest as one of two different ways, as she'll describe here. And sometimes you have mundane readings that deal with things like the year. And then also, what's really interesting is she talks about the medical and the chemistry of it. So a lot of times, chemistry will be associated with body parts. So like for the sun, which deals with the body, the medicine part of it is vitality, the heart, the living cell, and the element gold. So, in the case of the moon, the element would be silver. So, people who are deficient in minerals and elements and those kinds of things, we look at that here through a chart analysis, and it tells us right away how we can tune up that person. And if somebody's having surgery or maybe somebody's body is in distress, we can also see what things that they should look at. And even on this show, I've talked about getting your teeth checked out because that's definitely an association, I believe, with Saturn here. Let me see. So yeah, Saturn has to do with teeth. So this is how we do medicine in Uranian astrology. We can find out what ails you, and then we can find out sort of how to fix it through the elements. These are the correlations that we know of so far. And what's really interesting is that we can take this information for the medicine part of it, or we can also just look at the alchemy portion of our lives. So what we see here then is I have not that one, not this one, this one. Okay. So in this chart here, you'll see that if you're watching our YouTube stream, that we have my chart that's up on the screen right now. And by looking at that, you'll notice that we have that those shapes over on the right and then one on the left. So that's just to show you that those two things are intrinsically related by symmetry. Because if we reflect the circle on the right across the axis in the center, and we end up at the circle on the left. So Sun Hades is the combination that deals with healing, obviously, because Sun Hades also relates to disability in a certain sense. So these are things that are broken and things that are damaged, and that's the manifestation of it. So you can choose at any given moment to work on yourself through your health issues, and by you working on your health issues, then that means that your general quality of life improves. That's a given. So we have this here. And because we have Poseidon on the other side, remember that those two planets, Hades and Poseidon, those are opposites. Hades is the darkness. Poseidon is the light. That's the spirit. That's the education. That's the doctrine. These are some of the manifestations for that planet. When we put all three of those things together, then we can see that we have things like somebody who's a powerful healer. If we look at this second item over here, this next chart, you'll see this change up in just a moment. I have some other things that we're looking at. Now what we're doing is we're taking a look at my chart, but we're taking a look at that Sun Hades and that midpoint, which is a blue dot, and all of that stuff that's in that blue square, that all works together because of how close it is to each other in the chart. You'll see also there's some green stuff on the chart, and there's also a blue square at the bottom. Now, the blue square at the bottom, that mostly just refers to Admetos. That got cut off a little bit, my apologies. So Sun Hades Admetos is karma. Now, to synthesize all of this information and what it's saying, my karma, having to do with my disability and all of those sorts of issues, that is defined by me changing myself, the M with the P on the bottom, meridian, myself, my soul. P is Pluto. And then if you reflect that green circle across the axis that we have here, you'll see that you have this Venus along with Neptune up top. And then you can even reflect that Venus-Neptune across the other axis to find the third circle with Jupiter and Kronos. So that means that by me choosing to work on myself, that this causes success, which is Jupiter, and it causes mastery, which is Kronos. But how do I get there? The middle point of that, the midpoint of both of those two circles is that Venus-Neptune. And Venus very simply deals with balance. That's one of the key words of the planet Venus. It also deals with love, and especially with the Neptune over there, we've got some rose-colored glasses. We've got some very creative energy. We have some imagination. That's all true, but when we just stick to the key word of Venus being balance and harmony, that means that by me choosing to change myself and to balance myself, it creates success number one, and it also creates mastery. This is my mode of healing, is showing you how you can change yourself and how to balance yourself. This is one of the reasons why we have Amanda Cuda with us on the show today, is because she works with something called an Egyptian emotional release technique. This pulls from a bunch of other modalities to fuse together that allows you to balance yourself and to raise your own personal frequency. Amanda comes from a family of intuitives, and she learned through this entire process, through the use of oils and of smelling oils, that I don't have to be afraid of these things. I don't have to be afraid of my intuition and my spidey sense, because when you begin to open yourself up to all of these concepts about there's so much more to the world than what meets the eye, it becomes very scary. And I remember this specifically because with my grandmother in her final year or so, as she was transitioning into the beyond, there was a lot with her that I had to guide her through to say, it's okay that you can see and understand things that aren't necessarily physical. There is so much more to this world than what meets the eye. And giving her that comfort was, I believe, one of the major lessons that we really had to work on together in those final days. But it is quite scary and quite jarring to you as the person if you are reaching out and doing something new and stepping outside of yourself, because this is all scary. Like, you have this weird sense that something's about to happen, and then it does happen. Well, Amanda has gone through that experience already, and she's come to the point where she's realized, you know what, it's okay. I don't have to be scared by these things. So she is going to be telling us about the power and the healing magic behind doing something like this type of an emotional technique, release technique. And she's also going to be giving a free seminar, I believe on Facebook Live, which will be coming up on Thursday the 20th. There will be some more information in the show description and on our Patreon page where you can see these things. But without further ado, I am going to pass it over to Amanda now. So my first question to you, Amanda, it's something to work with in your introduction about yourself and your history, is how has your life changed as a result of you stepping outside of yourself to work on the things that need to be addressed?
Thank you, Ernesto, Beretta, for having me. The things I've done that I've had to change to really step out of myself. I was not a healthy person prior to this journey. I had really bad anxiety. I didn't know who I was, and I never felt good about myself. So it was quite a process when, who would have thought that essential oils would have been the drive? And my mum was getting me to use them because she saw how they could support my health and my emotions. And I kind of, poo-pooed it for quite a period of time. And she was really, really persistent that I started to use them. And they were my vehicle, my gateway for, as each time I would work on a different ailment or health thing, I then noticed a shift in my emotions, in my confidence, in the way I was able to just live a different life. And sure enough, traumas, past things came up that I then had to work out how to deal with. And that's why I'm so honored to be here to talking with you both today and everyone about the Egyptian emotional clearing technique, because this has been a driving force for how I was able to use it to be able to, and I still do today as different things come up, because we are forever evolving. And when something comes up, how I use this technique to look at it, clear out any of the negative, and be able to move forward with ease.
Thank you so much for that. That's, you bring up a lot of really great points about how changing yourself through spirit can bring such magic and such joy and pleasure out of life. One of the things for myself that has been really monumental and key in my own personal growth and development really all comes down to, let's see here, it's in my slides, just a moment. I have no idea why my thing is freaking out right now. There we go. So here we go. When we talk about that issue with balance, if you remember that other chart that had the green and the blue together, now what's really nice about Uranian astrology, what's really magical about it is Ruth Drummond, she was able to compile all of the data samples and the research during the Second World War era, during Vita's Publishing Company days and all of that, to find out, number one, how is the astrology done? And number two, what is it all trying to say? And what she found out is the fact that there are always two sides of every single coin, and your actions in any given moment will generate a result or a response, for better or for worse. But that's really created by yourself. What you're looking at right now on the screen has to deal with 3 planets. We have Sun, Venus, and Hades. So Sun, Hades, we've already established, deals with healing, right? And then when we add Venus into that, now we're dealing with healing with balance as a purpose, or balance as a focus. Balance is going to be the main thing that we want to work with in those healing arts. If you look at the traditional original Rules for Planetary Pictures, or even our new document, New Rules for Planetary Pictures, both of them have all kinds of hideous, terrible things to say about these 3 planets together. We're talking about things like sex workers and sexual health issues, possibly issues dealing with pregnancy. Everything is really dark, but it all deals with sexy kinds of stuff. And none of that's really helpful in the moment, because we're talking about healing arts. And sure, there is sexual healing, but that's not the scope of the show today. So I pulled this from Ruth Drummond's Aureus Astrology software. If you do have her software, all of these definitions are listed inside of it. They are stuck in copyright hell, which is one of the reasons you don't see this text otherwise. But what we're looking at here is there are positives and there are negatives. On the top, you'll see that there's a plus and a minus. So these are the choices. These are what you can choose to be between these things. You can be kind, you can be humble, service-oriented, you can be interested in antique or historical arts and all of those other things that are there. Or on the negative side of things, you could be drawn to danger or risky situations. I absolutely was drawn to all kinds of risky stuff in my past. And nobody ever told me that this was unhealthy for me until somebody just sort of pulled the plug and pulled the rug out from under me. And my life took a total 180. You could also have pathologically sensual. So that's not great. That's meaning that you're loving people physically in a way that's not authentic. And then we also have things like unsympathetic, barren. And barren, I don't necessarily read so much as like barren in a pregnancy sense, like that this is a health issue. That is one side of it. But I see barren very simply as cold. I see. And then we have things like desensitized and tasteless. Remember, taste is the one thing in the universe that cannot be taught. If you have a bad sense of taste, I'm really sorry to say you have a bad sense of taste, and that's just the way that goes. Now, depending on what you choose in those 2 top items, depends on what you manifest in the bottom set of information. So you could have a preference for simple people, something I definitely did not have in the past, but has evolved with me over time because I've obviously changed with myself. Amanda, this is probably one of the things that you and I can connect with, and also Beretta as well. Attractions of or to private or mysterious people. When we first met, there probably wasn't a whole lot you knew about me, except for I work with Uranian Astrology, and something in your spidey sense says, ooh, what's that? So that would make me mysterious in that sense. And then there's also the solicitude relating to love, days or years of simple pleasures, folk artists. These are the positive ends of things. So when you choose the positive stuff on the top half, then you end up with the positive stuff on the bottom half. On the bottom, on the negative end, we end up with glandular disorders, diabetes, days or years of declining sympathy, grief or distress relating to love. And that was probably, I would say, the most highlighted point of my 20s was grief or distress relating to love. As one of those lovesick, horny 20 somethings who's just getting out there into the world for the first time, why doesn't anybody love me? I'm giving you so much of myself. What am I doing wrong? Well, let's take a look at all of the negative choices that I was making in those times. Being drawn to risky situations. That's absolutely something that was going to create grief or distress relating to love. So by me choosing to work on all of the negative stuff in the very top half, that has allowed me to take a total 180 in my life and where I am today. So this is the alchemy of Uranian astrology and one of the more interesting points about what we do here. So Beretta, what are your thoughts on what Amanda has been talking about today and your experience with stepping outside of yourself for change, for not necessarily the greater good, but just to improve yourself and have a better quality of life? Hello? Okay. All right. So,
Nope.
Verena.
No, I'm here. I'm
Oh,
here.
okay.
I'm here.
All right,
Sorry
great.
about that. I just stepped away for a second. It caught me off guard. My thoughts are that it's very valid. Healing arts have been tested through the times. If you look at any culture at any point in our past history, you see some type of shamanic, higher element, higher vibration, not sacrifices, but that's what they would have been seen as doing in a routine. So it's been established long time ago. It's a matter of the fact that this Western generation, this Western philosophy on, fix it, and maybe it don't fix it unless you absolutely have to, just Band-Aid it and let it go, is right there with just about the adequacy of a little kid coming up and healing somebody, because they don't know what they're doing. They're just allowing energy to flow. And I've seen that happen, children with healing hands. And everybody that is aware that there is a vibration also knows that each individual has its unique vibration, if you will, just like a fingerprint. Everybody's got a unique vibration. And so they can most definitely benefit, if you would, from looking at the ratio of Western medicine to Eastern medicine, which is a preemptive style of healthcare. Know that's a stronger that's a stronger modality than the Western with the pills and the morphine and the whatever and the I don't knows, go home and just deal with it system. So we've kind of had to turn to our own vices. Now, I know for a fact that oils definitely can make a big impact on someone's health immediately. So it's that keeps pharmaceuticals and everything going in the rage, because everything that's created to help mankind is probably based on a plant or an animal matter that there is on the planet. So everything's here for a reason. It's really whether or not we're smart enough to use it, And I think Amanda's being able to bring some things to focal point where people can easily understand exactly what it's talking about, instead of the mythology language that we like to use to make it ours, to prioritize it to be ours. And that's not so. Nobody owns any kind of anything. And there's energy all around. And there is the ability to heal all around. And that's been proven through science. Dr. Emoto was pretty handy, even though he practiced more in a pseudoscience. He did prove that the emotion of water showed on and could correlate to plants, and matter cannot survive in negative folds. So what he did was he blessed water, and he used it on a plant, and then he felt about water. He didn't care about it. He just held it for a minute. He didn't really give any thought to it, and he poured it on a plant. And then he went to the third plant, and he got real foul and really ugly and really demented in that area that he used to go. and he poured it in the plant. And then you could see later down the road that the one with positive energy was flourishing, bubbling out over the whatever railings of their whatever they kept it in. And the second plant was, it was growing. Basically, it's caught root, and there was trying to really be something there. And the other one, you see nothing but mold and decay and not anything satisfying. And so Amanda's ability to show people is the same thing as Emoto being able to show people unequivocally that what we think, how we feel, that projects out into society. So it's only a matter of fact that if it's being projected out to society, that means there's got to be something out there that society knows. And I'm not talking about the human society. I'm just saying Mother Nature herself can supply what we need to heal from. I know for a fact peppermint oil derails a migraine for me in a minute. I only have to actually get the lid off, and it goes to work right away. So that kind of alchemy, somebody had to test that, and when they caught on right away, they kept using it, passed on down to us a couple of decades ago, centuries ago, in the practice of creating medicine, the Western kind of medicine, going into the preemptive versus, not going against the preemptive from the Eastern. And it is all about vibration. It's all about what you know, and it's all about where your heart is. Can you believe what this shows and let it work? And all we can do is create a foundation, provide all the information. It's like leading a horse to water. You can get there, but you can't make it drink. So here we have all this great stuff to offer humanity at this moment, but they would choose to dispose of it because it isn't a pill, or it isn't a procedure. It doesn't cost a lot of money to help somebody in it. So they poo-poo it, they throw it away, and they don't want anybody to know that it can supply a good deal and a great source of healing and well-being. So that's my 2 cents. As far as I've used oils, I've suggested them, and I've also helped before I really actually realized what magic was, if you will. I would have a client call every once in a while, say about every 3 weeks or so. And this one time she tells me, I'm having a really hard time with the guy upstairs. I don't know. I think he stomps on the floor just because I've asked him not to do it in the bathroom, at 2 o'clock in the morning. And she insinuated to me she knew what he was doing in there, and she could hear it, and she didn't appreciate it. So she kind of told the guy, you're right over our bedroom when you're doing that. Could you maybe not stand so close to the window or something like that? So I tuned in, felt like it would be very beneficial for her to concoct a crystal and oil routine. And so she calls me, and I've actually done that for her a couple times when she says, my family's coming, is there anything I can do? Yeah, get a bunch of rose quartz and put it everywhere that it can't be seen. And it worked for whatever. And so she calls me back 3 weeks later. Hey, how you doing? I'm good. She said, that potion that you gave me? And she used the word potion, and I blew it off immediately, but I kept listening. And she said, that guy? I said, oh, it didn't work. She said, oh, yeah, it worked well. He moved out. Oh. She said, was that magic? And immediately I wanted to spit the word no out my mouth. And I don't know how many guys I've gotten spirit from the Brotherhood that said, yes, that's what that was. That was absolutely magic. And I blew myself away because I was so opposed to the word magic and in this way it could be concocted. Now, that's the way of life for me. I don't care. You can call me a witch if you want to. I don't think I am, but everybody has got the power within them to move energy. They just need to know how to. And when you add oil and mineral with that, it just enhances what you are doing. And if your thoughts to bless that situation, the fact is it's not what you're blessing, it's that you are blessing. And the fact that you are blessing raises vibration no matter wherever you want it to go. So don't let ego get too involved when you're blessing and you're allowing your oils to be created in a holy manner, because it's the fact of what you're doing, not what you're doing it with. So I guess that would be enough on my end for this, unless you have specific questions, Ernesto. I've got lots of stories where this is concerned, but and we want to give Amanda more time, I'm sure, with it. So there you go.
Yes, thank you. All right, great. So what I have up on our YouTube right now is I was showing you guys a graph or a chart that shows the 8 basic emotions. This is by Pia Melody. My counselor Barbara imparted this to me many years ago. And as somebody who is emotionally disabled as the result of brain damage, human emotion is something that I've always very much struggled to understand. It's been so complicated and weird. But what's been really remarkable about working with this particular chart is I am able to see the 8 basic emotions and their words. So I know words on a page, this is what I can describe based on my thoughts or internal dialogue. That's how emotion works in my end. Emotion is just thought. So when I look at this here, I'm able to see that there's anger, fear, pain, joy, passion, love, shame, and guilt. And within those main basic 8 emotions, there are sub-emotions. So under joy, you have happy, elated, hopeful. Under pain, you have hurt, pity, sad, or lonely, and so on. So there's this whole dichotomy that if this, then that. And from what I gather from what Amanda's showing us here in her whole thing, which is the next diagram, this pyramid, or this inverted pyramid that's sort of like a cone, then what we're able to see is that it's really very multidimensional. And these are our frequencies. So when we are guilty or apathetic or feeling grief or fear, you'll see that those items are much lower on the list. So those are low frequencies. We are contracted. But when we get up into the ultimate consciousness at the top, we have peace, joy, love, passion, enlightenment. These are all things that we can achieve for ourselves. And from my understanding and what Amanda does, that this is through the use of not only just the emotional release technique, but also through the use of essential oils. So Amanda, tell us a little bit more about that and how that works, and a little bit about your experience.
I love this part of it because this is where we talk about the frequencies, and it has been measured. So studies have shown a healthy human body vibrates at a frequency of 72 to 78 megahertz. And a lot of people like to use dry herbs. Dry herbs, their frequency is 15 to 22 megahertz. Fresh food is not that much different. It's 20 to 27. But if you're eating things like processed canned food, it's 0. So I actually did a cooking class with a vegan chef last year where we actually walked people through a journey of the chakras. So we were actually talking about eating different colors for your different chakras. And so when you're adding essential oils into the mix, their frequency can be anywhere between 52 to 320 and more. So you're raising your frequency each time. So on this chart that we've got up there, where we're looking at, guilt, and below guilt is shame, that they're very low frequencies. And your grief, we know what those emotions feel like, and they don't feel good. And we do have that contrast in life, that yin yang, that back and forth, the waves, where everything isn't going to be fine all the time, but we don't want to be stuck in those lower frequencies. Now, we do, and I love how you mentioned Hades, Ernesto, because I actually didn't know that piece of the puzzle. So that's something new I've just learned in the last couple of days when we've been talking about this, how, it creates the illness, but the healing at the same time, and you don't have healing without the illness. So, it's okay to feel grief when you have loss. It's okay to feel fear, but we want to not linger there. And so by using the essential oils, it helps you to be able to bring your vibration up so you can come to courage and acceptance and the feelings of joy and love. And also for people who are trying to manifest, and I manifest abundance because I talk a lot about abundance in my emotional clearing masterclass. You can't manifest when you're in those lower frequencies. Well, you can, but you're not going to be manifesting probably the things that you actually want to move and improve your life. So we have to get you into the higher frequencies first in order to get you to manifest the things that you truly want in your life. So I know, and even just before I came on this call, this is the first time you guys have invited me on the show, and I don't know what to expect. And it is nerve-wracking, right? When we don't know what we're going to be experiencing. So I applied a special oil, and it's one of our flagship oils. We just had a convention the last 3 days. They're talking about bringing back an original formula, and the oil is called Valor. And valor is courage. It's what the Romans used to go into battle. So and not that I'm here battling on this podcast, but I wanted that extra courage. So that was one of the first oils I put on me. That and inspiration, because I've got no script being on this podcast, but I wanted to allow to be in that higher frequency to flow for who is here tuning in the information that they needed to hear. So I use this all the time. Ernesto and I met in a public speaking organization, and every time we go to that meeting, I'm using my oils to help bring me my courage, my inspiration, my clarity, to help raise my vibration so I can give my all to the people I'm interacting with. Otherwise, as I mentioned earlier, that anxiety, it can tend to come in, and, they do say your body can be confused, like anxiety and excitement is the same feeling, but I don't want to dwell on the anxiety in my mind. I want to be excited and feel that when I'm going into something and bringing my vibration, because not only do I want to lift myself up, but I'm here because I want to lift up the people around me that I come into contact with and show them that there is a better way. And it can start as simply as putting the right quality and drop of essential oil on your wrist. That's how simply we can start.
And I love that, because my very first question was going to be, so what the heck do you recommend for people who have like extreme environmental disease where anything but fresh air is not acceptable? And the fact that you would just put it on your wrist, that's pretty safe, pretty neutral for a lot of people. So thank you for that suggestion. That was the first thing I was going to go to. So I really like that you mentioned that here.
Yes, so simple. And then the diffuser as well. So having a diffuser, so the moment you smell anything, the moment you smell a cleaning chemical you get from the supermarket, the moment you smell an essential oil, that's going directly into your body and into your bloodstream as well. So the people who have health conditions, one of the classes I do teach is about getting toxins out of your house, because that will destroy your health. That will disrupt your endocrine system. That's why we're having autoimmune diseases. So I tell people, when you come to my house, it's a chemical-free house. Please don't even wear perfume. Your perfume is going to disrupt my endocrine system, and I have had to heal naturally from Hashimoto's. So having a diffuser is such a beautiful thing that the whole family, everybody in the house can enjoy and experience. But if you have pets, this is where the quality comes in. If you go buy eucalyptus from the supermarket, that has a poison label, and that is poisonous to your pets. So if you have pets, you really have to know what you're doing. But that's how simple this can be. We don't have to overcomplicate it. Yes, we have over 300 oils in our range. You only need 12 to really start changing your life.
And I like that about the essential oils because when I was coping with spice addiction in my mid 20s, this is a deeply personal story, so I apologize to people who are cringing at this moment, the ones who really know me. When I was dealing with that particular issue, and, the Fed decided to say, sorry, guys, we're not going to make it available in the same way that it used to be. And they began to cut out a lot of the really great research chemicals that made the experience so worth it. So I have no idea what I was ingesting at that point in my life. It was really just a crapshoot. But one of the things I thought was really weird was that I ended up on this page that talked about essential oils, right? And it was some proprietary blend that had like lavender and ylang ylang and all of this other fancy stuff in it. And so I bought it, right? Because I couldn't get what I wanted. I couldn't get the drugs that I wanted. So let me try this natural stuff and see if that's an acceptable substitute. And I was really kind of surprised how well it worked. It wasn't the exact same experience, but it very much simulated that without all of the dirtiness. So when you're talking about these things, about how we can use essential oils to improve ourselves and really sort of release whatever junk we're feeling, I do agree with that because when I was going through this, for the purpose of getting high, for the purpose of drugs, that I could use essential oils and that they did benefit me.
Absolutely. You can definitely use essential oils for people who have drug addictions, including alcohol, even food. My problem is I can be quite an emotional eater. When there's things going on that's stress, and if I'm not grabbing my oil and I'm grabbing food as well, you can definitely do different things. We have a vitality range, which is a supplemental essential oil range, and that's just a fancy way of saying that the FDA isn't going to give us hassle for making certain claims about the oils. And you can definitely use things like frankincense. Frankincense is one of the most powerful oils. And I actually challenge people and tell them, go Google frankincense and look at the 1,000 benefits. And we say to people, if you don't know what to use frankincense. It's the king of all oils.
Beretta, what is your experience with oils and sort of what they can be used for? Because I know that we were going to talk about the shamanic arts, which is probably an entirely separate subject, but how does this play into your background and experience / mastery with metaphysics?
Well, it did start way back then. So it's one of those things that initially I looked at others. My mom was a registered nurse, but she was more organic. And so when she stopped practicing nursing, went into care homes, she went the whole way and getting anything that she needed, from headache relief to vitality. And she carried a range of different brands because she didn't, some brands weren't supported by, the FDA. And so she really didn't, at that time, didn't know what to expect. But when Young Living came up, and there's another one that came up too, and it was all the rage for about a minute, and I don't know what that one was, can't remember, but she taught me. And so I learned to understand that there was benefit in those things, whether it's a candle burning, oil burning, it doesn't really matter. And when you use sage, which is what I would use on a regular basis, and then, like I said, you right behind it, bring energy in. You've just erased everything with the sage, which is great. You want to get icky out of there, but now you need to fill the void that was created. So you want to set the tone. Set the tone, and maybe you can tell me, Amanda, where they range, if you know. I will go to, right after saging, I will either go to Nag Champa incense, Palo Santo wood, or sweetgrass. Sweetgrass was my favorite, but I could not keep that stuff lit to save my soul. So I kind of just let them choose whatever they wanted. And if it was sweetgrass, I didn't offer up a suggestion. But other people have delicate senses, and so they might not like those things that range maybe too high or too different for them. So I just say whatever you need to make it perky, fill that void. So I sage, I use my peppermint, because my mom taught me to be aware that if you have a problem, God made it God made you. God made a solution. Just look for it. So I didn't really play into the creator thing, but I did stay in tune with the mineral integration with a vibration and an essential oil that will definitely change the tone and I can also tell you from a background of caregiving, it does wonders for a patient that's transitioning. I would rub lavender, with the ums. I would rub lavender on their soles and their palms, and they kind of go with the smell and check out that way. It made their transition a whole lot easier. And actually, I'm going to have to be using that here very shortly. So it's kind of interesting that it comes up because I'm going to have to find what I need somewhere. Amanda, what is the brand that you use or you promote?
So I only use Young Living because we're the world leaders in essential oils. We have our own farms, we have our own distilleries, and if an essential oil isn't produced to the quality that it needs to be for their customers, they will take it off the market.
Yep. I know. That's why I love it too.
Quality. Yeah. But I love what you said. Fred, I love what you said about the transition. So before I actually had my own account, and it's great, you can just have like your own essential oil Amazon account. And before I had that, this is when my mum was trying to introduce me to the oils, and I got that dreaded call that my dad, I needed to go say goodbye to him. And I lived in a different city. It was a 2-hour flight away. So it was a Friday. I remember it so clearly. I dropped everything at work, packed a bag, flew up, and I made it in time to say goodbye to him. And I arrived, and he's like, "What are you doing here?" And I'm like, "Oh, I just coming to see you and keep you company." He just had a stroke, and the next day I was at my mom's house having breakfast, and we were getting ready to go back to the hospital, and we got the call from the doctor saying that they were going to put him into hospice palliative care. And we went straight to the hospital, and my mom bought her bag of, and she didn't have a big collection at the time either, and she just bought her bag of essential oils. And my dad was completely out of it. I think they had drugged him up, and it was really beautiful. My mom just started putting all these really nice, and I don't even know what she used. Like I said, we didn't have many. I think lavender was one of them, frankincense, and she just started anointing my dad. And they had been divorced for truly over a decade, but she was still taking that time to give that peacefulness to him for his descent. And what was really also beautiful about that is he passed away by that evening. So he wasn't suffering for a long period of time. And it brings up so much emotion when we talk about using the oils for transition or caring for somebody. And also how you mentioned about the sage and the cleansing. I love using Palo Santo as a cleansing oil. It is absolutely one of my favorite smells. And then what I like to do afterwards is I like to diffuse citrus oil. So like your lemon, your orange, your citrus oils are your happy oils. And I used to use it on an ex-boyfriend. So if I knew he had a bad day at work, I would put my citrus oils in the diffuser before he came home, because I knew within moments of him coming home, those oils would calm him down and immediately transform his state of mind. And so there's so many ways that you can use the oils. And Freda, it sounds like between just you and me alone, we could sit here for days and tell stories and experiences.
Well, and so on that note, I just want to say another thing too before Vanessa pulls her plug. It doesn't have to just be used on humans, right? I remember using a sage lemon, sage lemon, some lavender, for my dog, when we knew we would have to go for a long ride somewhere and she can't get out, she gets fidgety. So I just packed it all up in a little bowl, and by the time I knew she was going to start getting fidgety, I lit that sucker up, and I had the white sage all in the bottom, and it was all in tin foil, So I'm so glad nobody went by and looked to see what I was doing in there. What's she doing? Oh my God, she's smoking out there. But so within minutes.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, within minutes she responded, and yeah, I get that. I get how really susceptible, vulnerable, and receptive we are to that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and Young Living have even brought out an animal sense range. So like I mentioned earlier, if you're using oils with animals, you have to heavily dilute it. Please send me a message so I can give you the correct protocols. But yeah, and if you have an anxious animal, and particularly, we just had 4th of July here in America with all the fireworks going off for days, start diffusing, get the blend. It's called Tea Away, an animal sense Tea Away. I'm going to let you guess what the T stands for. I can't say that live.
Right.
But get it and diffuse it several hours before the fireworks start. Don't do it the time the fireworks start, because in future the animal will make the connection to the sound and the smell. Animals are so intuitive like that. So diffuse it. It's 4th of July. Your neighbors are going to be letting off fireworks. Be proactive and start diffusing it several hours beforehand. And I put it out for my kitty cat, and she goes and hides under the bed still because she doesn't like the sound, but she's less stressed and anxious while she's more chilled napping under the bed.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I just wanted to let everybody know that we're normally an hour-long program, but I'm still sort of feeling out the time constraints and issues related to this show. I'm really loving this conversation, so I listed the stream today as 90 minutes, just in case we went over, so we weren't so pressed for time. So I do want to thank you guys, and this has been a terrific discussion. This has been really wonderful. So Amanda, my last question to you before we get off to our call here from area code 415 is, when you talk about like abundance, right? You say that this is a huge part of your coaching program and what you do. What specifically does that work? What does that speak to? Like, how is it that by clearing yourself emotionally that we're able to create lives of abundance and purpose?
It is a passion of mine because we tend to self-sabotage subconsciously. We're not even aware that we're doing it half the time. And it is because it is that fear of moving forward, because for great things to happen, you have to become uncomfortable. And I think if you can think of a moment in your life where something great did happen, you had to get uncomfortable first to get there. And, I can be one of my own great self-sabotages really when getting myself out there publicly. And so, it's something I'm always working on myself. And one of the tools I like to use for that is using what we call the Feelings Collection. It comprises of 6 oils. And with those different oils, what we're doing, so with your memories, emotion, traumas are all stored in the limbic region of your brain, which is right next to your olfactory, which is where your smell is. So what I love about this technique is you can get to those deep root traumas in a really relaxed, therapeutic way. Just what I like to do is I like to go sit in our guest room, so my husband's not around, and that's my cat's room where she sleeps, and so me and her hang out on the bed, and I will use, and I'm going to tell you the names of the oils because I want you to put yourself in the feeling of those names, because these oils are distilled to the vibration and frequency, like we've already showed, what Ernesto showed earlier, how we have the different vibrations of love or grief or fear. So what they've done, they've tested people of, if you were to feel this way, what would the frequency be? And so these how these oils are distilled that way. So first we use valor, like I mentioned earlier. Valor is our oil of courage. Well, valor also realigns our body. It's our energetic balance. So we always start everything with valor. Even another technique I do that we won't go into today called the raindrop technique, but Google it if you need some physical support for your body. And so we start by putting valor on our wrist or the soles of our feet, and you just, feel into what it would be like to just feel calm and relaxed and energy just balanced. And then we grab the Harmony oil. So that's our next oil, Harmony. And we'll put a couple of drops in the palm of our hand. Rub your fingers, your other hand. Put your fingers, rub it together 3 times clockwise. I go into that in the masterclass, why that's key. And then we'll rub that oil on our chakra points. So we do work a lot with the chakras. As we know, the chakras are our energy wheels of the body. So we'll put Harmony on our chakras. And then just here again, take that deep breath and moment to feel your body coming into harmony. And then we'll use forgiveness. So forgiveness, we like to put on our navel, so our sacral chakra, and feel what it's like to forgive a person maybe, or a situation, or whatever it is. Because if you're hanging on to anger, that is only hurting you. That does not hurt the other people. They're not getting it. They're probably oblivious to you being that hurt and anger, and that is only causing chaos and illness within your own body. So use forgiveness. Then the next oil is present time. So, we talk about depression, living in the past, anxiety, living in the future. We always want to bring people back to the present time. And so we'll apply a drop of that to our thymus, so just below your throat chakra, and feel just being right here and now in the moment. And then we'll follow by release oil. And release is we are releasing all that anger, resentment, all those negative emotions. And we apply that over the liver, so under your ribs on the right-hand side. Your liver is actually where anger is stored. That's the organ associated with anger. And so we'll put release on the liver. And then our last oil in the collection, our 6th oil, is inner child. And again, we'll put that on our navel, on our sacral chakra, and we'll connect to our inner child. And, not only let our inner child know that, we're there for them, but to connect, but to also bring that playfulness and joy back out of us. And I do have a couple of more oils if people want to add to it, like a protection oil. White Angelica is our protection oil. I have stories of being in crowds of 5,000 people and being, a really beautiful experience where other people didn't have as much of a great experience. We have a grounding oil, or then you might want to use other oils like Believe, or Highest Potential, or Inspiration, like I mentioned earlier. And so these are the oils, and then abundance oil as well. Then we use the abundance oil. Fun fact, the first time I used abundance oil, I was in a new job. I was there for 2 months, and the next day, my boss called me up and offered me a pay rise. So when we can clear out the self-sabotages, the traumas, the things that stop us from moving forward, get us into a higher frequency, add the abundance oil in, I have seen magic happen in people's lives.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and that stands true for what I experienced as well, even though I didn't know what I was doing other than being guided by spirit, to add this to that and put it together and stick it here. And yeah, well, it does work. And it is magic, and it's magic in a positive manner. What we think is just a holistic healing or etherical living, that's all magic. That's the realm of magic. So, and that would be a whole separate show too, because what we are doing is creating ritual, or we're not abandoning that old style of living. So we're bringing it back, and I hope we can bring it back enough that. And I love the story behind Young Living. I almost went to Oregon to see the plant, but it is integral. It is based on fact. It is something that you can use. So Young Living is definitely around. Do you have, Amanda, a site that people can go to?
I do, yeah. And what I'll do is those oils I just spoke about with the Feelings collection, I'll post that link in the chat. And I don't know if Anesta wants to add it to the show notes later, but people can go on and doesn't look like it hyperlinked. I'll get Anesta to fix that up. And people can go there, and when you purchase the oils through my brand partner number, I give you so much education. You get a little welcome free gift from me. I do classes all the time. So my big part of this is educating people. And I've been doing this for 11 years now. So, and I've got 2 practitioner certifications as well. So I really do like to help people understand. People can text me and go, I'm going through this. How can I, what do you recommend or suggest? And I kind of have a sense of what they do and don't have, so I can make sure, hey, you have this frankincense oil already. Use that. So they don't have to keep buying your 300 plus oil collection. But definitely helping them. And I teach my classes, even if you have an account and you just subscribe to my website, I will send out newsletters when I do teach classes. I'm all about helping people use oils in the right way, in the right qualities. So anyone's free to come and join and listen and learn and ask questions. And if there's a topic you want to learn about, I love teaching. I love teaching about the oils. There's a dozen plus classes that I can just teach at any given day.
Yeah, that's great. That's good. When you have that much experience, it's easy to teach.
Yeah, and just to let all of our listeners know that if you go out to our Patreon page, then you will see that I did post Amanda's document from her Google Docs where it shows all of this really nice information with some links. So Amanda, if you want to update that later, then everybody will be able to see those links and information over there on our Patreon page. So I really liked what you said, though, about how the olfactory sense is so powerful to us as human beings. Because, again, if we use the opposite side of the same coin, one of the major reasons why smokers have such an impossible time giving up the habit is because nicotine creates memories in our brain. So I can smoke a cigarette today and remember things that happened 20 years ago from the very first time that I started that, or whatever moment and what I like about this so much, what science does not tell you in the whole process is they just tell you that smoking cigarettes creates memories in the brain, and that's one of the reasons why it's so hard to give up. Well, think about it. Every single time you light up, you really kind of can't run away from the smell. So every single time you light up, you're always triggering old memories. And especially if you're in a place where you're ready to just give it up and become a new you, then you're just bringing up all of that old narrative each and every single time. So right there, it is so impossible for us to give that up. And I think about it like not too long ago, a couple of years ago, when I was still doing cannabis products, I lit up with some Blue Dream. And that's a strain that I remember from my college days. So this was something I hadn't had in a very long time. So when I lit up with that and I smelled this again, it brought me right back to my college apartment where I used to live many years ago. And all of the craziness and just terrible things that I was doing back then. And now that I've given all of that up and I don't do that anymore, I've begun to realize, so this is honestly very simply by me giving up these unhealthy behaviors, I am able to look past myself and move forward. So this has been a huge thing. And I really like what Amanda said about moving forward, that if this is something that you're wanting to do for yourself, that we do have to be uncomfortable. I am ready to jump out of my skin most days And that's just kind of the way that it's been lately. And this too shall pass. I understand that it's part of the growth process. Remember that change is inevitable, but growth is optional. And so, in my whole experience, I've really been working hard on being more comfortable with these changes that are being thrown at me because I would like to grow from them. As we looked at my chart in the beginning, my karma is very simply to change myself and the things that I don't like or find unpleasant about myself. And in going through that entire process, there is absolutely going to be discomfort, but the rewards are amazing. And I know this because I'm selling this product of Uranian Astrology. If I didn't believe in what I do, I wouldn't care. But because I live my chart every single day, it's going to take me my entire life to manifest all of these planets and the wonder that's listed here. I have to challenge myself to step outside and say, I'm not going to be in this warm, fuzzy cocoon anymore. The world is a scary place, but it doesn't have to be. And that's all just by my own choice and my own doing. So I am going to post this here in the YouTube chat for the information about Amanda's essential oils and starter guide. And again, if on our Patreon page, we do have that listed there over there as well. So just scan that QR code at the bottom of our picture here, and you can find us over on Patreon. We do want to thank Amanda so much for joining us, and continue to stay on the line because we're going to take a call right now from area code 415. You've been waiting very patiently, so let's get to you right now. Hi, are you there? Can you hear us right now?
Hey, yeah, it's Jessica. How are you guys?
Good.
Doing great. So, Jessica, let me pull up your chart, and we're not doing questions today just because of the nature of our podcast. So I just want to ask you real quick. Now were you born on July 16th?
That's right.
Okay,
Today's my birthday.
Got you then. Well,
Happy
welcome.
birthday.
Happy birthday. Yeah. So we're doing generals
Thank
about
you.
healing. Veretta, what you got for Jessica about healing?
All right, Jessica. Okay, so this year for you is going to be about healing. So funny matter that you called in. This year for you is about actualizing what really can happen. No shit. I just looked down on the clock. It's 11:11. This year for you is going to be jam-packed with challenge if you can't change easily. So if you find there's a choice that needs to be made, make the choice. Otherwise, it'll be made for you. So we could be looking at things like where you live. A lot of things are going to manifest itself. But the healing aspect of it is you're going to be great by the time it's all over and you're done with whatever your challenge is right now. You're going to be on top of the world because you've allowed yourself to come into the need to have boundaries for yourself. So this is going to be a good year for you to establish boundaries for yourself. And get the things that need to be fixed and stop waiting for the time that you can, or because those times come and go and you just, well, it's not so bad this time. So whatever it is, honey, let it go. Ernesto, can you give her anything more about that?
Yeah, so taking a look at this.
Can I just I'm sorry, I just wanted to ask something for Veretta, like just a follow-up with that. I've been noticing that it's been like throughout this year that every time I move, because I'm living in a new location now, what besides the housing I have to take care of, it's always the money. And I'm wondering how to receive healing around this, because again, like I'm still asking spirit, like how exactly am I making money right now? Because I see how that really made it much harder for me over this last year moving around.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm going for the jobs that I really want to be doing, like the consulting work, but I still need money in the meantime. I don't want to run down the money again.
Yeah. Well, I think Amanda with the oils are going to be a great source of relief for you with that. And I think Ernesto might have a little bit of something on how to manifest a little bit of a higher vibration or raise your energy and stay in that realm. Don't just raise it to receive, because honestly, if you're just raising your energy to receive, then whatever you're getting in that moment doesn't last that long. So when you're authentic enough to be coming from self, That's what heals you. Now get some vibrational help with the oils. And like I said, Amanda can help you with that, and that should really carry you all year and create the abundance you need to provide the ability for yourself to survive. But let's let Ernesto take a look at the healing aspect and this year to come for you.
Yeah, so Jessica, taking a look at this for you, when it comes to the healing aspect of things, so we ask that question, and if you're watching our YouTube cast, you can see that I have the arrow on a green dot. So this is the midpoint of the blue and the pink, those first two charts. So this is talking about where you are right now about that issue. And what we see here is you'll have some things, like you've got some stuff with Mercury that's showing up really strong, especially today of all days, that's coming in. So what this speaks to me as is the fact that your healing really all comes down to very simply your rhetoric and also just like the internal dialogue that you deal with on a regular basis. And specifically from my experience, what this can refer to is if there's like a lot of narcissism or if there is like a lot of trampling of boundaries in your life, you need to do more to eradicate that from yourself, because it becomes really super duper problematic when you're trying to set something else up for yourself, and then it all comes tumbling down in a not great way, but that because somebody else did it and you weren't the one who was in charge, who made those choices, or maybe you were just defeated and gave up. So what's happening here, what I'm seeing is that you're really being called to be more positive in the sense that this self-care about me and the words that I choose to use, I'm going to change them. So I mean, like we can have one side of the coin which is very negative and very distraught, and there's all kinds of difficulties going on. But then on the opposite end of things, we're looking at things like I take care of myself, I establish boundaries, I am firm. You know, that by telling people that I would rather have a sharp wall around me to keep you out because I know that this is going to create a problem, than pandering to some BS that I know is just going to damage me or disappoint me in the end. Remember that we can control disappointment for the most part, and a lot of that's defined by our own actions. So how you get there very simply is just by being clear with yourself and others about these are the lines that I'm willing to work with here, and everything else, there's the door. So I think that for you, Jessica, this year in terms of abundance and this whole story piece of you finding yourself is just going to be about you spending some time on how to clean up your own internal languaging, you know, how you describe the world or how you may see things. And also just that internal dialogue of, you know, like I don't have to be so mental about everything. I don't have to take it all so personally. That you know, that I can be in charge here, and the way I'm going to do that is defined by me choosing to be positive with my thoughts. So I mean, Louise Hay has the very famous quote: "It's not your life that sucks; it's your thinking that sucks." I love that. That's really stuck with me over all the years. So, Amanda, is there anything else that you can chime in with as far as like healing is concerned and the oils, as far as what will be useful to Jessica in this situation?
Yes. Happy birthday, Jessica. How exciting you're here with us today. What I was intuitively feeling for you was there's a couple of other oils that might be really good for you. One might be surrender. Sometimes we actually just need to surrender to then be able to move forward, and acceptance. They're really good oils. But hearing you say that you're ready for it to come in, and maybe that feelings collection might be a nice addition for you as well, because if you're seeing patterns that are repeating that you want to then help to get you to move forward, working on that feelings kit, and you can do it 5 minutes a day. It doesn't have to take long. You can do it for 20 minutes a day if you want to meditate on each oil. You can do it in the space that you want to do it in. So I think using surrender, acceptance, and obviously the abundance oil. Absolutely. Everyone needs the abundance oil.
Okay. I like what you were sharing, because I do have a bunch of oils and I don't work with them on a regular basis, which you kind of brought that back into my mind to start doing that. But I like what you said about just making healing like nice and easy. Because a lot of times we work hard on it, and I'm not interested in that anymore.
Oh, yeah. And, I say to people, you need to use the oils as much as you're eating. So you do need to use them several times a day, but it can be as simply and as quick as I'm putting on my face cream, and you have the oil sitting beside your face cream, and you apply a drop to your wrist. That's how quickly and easy it is to raise your vibration. Weave it into your daytime beauty routine.
Yes. Okay. I will. Thank you. Very
Okay, for sure.
good. I like that.
We do wish you all the best, Jessica, for this near year to come ahead, and we will be back again with you on the 27th, so be sure to give us a call if you have any specific questions at that point. We'll catch up with you real soon.
Thank you. Have a nice
Until
day.
next time, many blessings. Okay, and last but not least, let's catch up with Patricia from area code 216. I do have your chart up right now. Hi, Patricia. Now, Veretta, let me take a look here. What advice do you have for Patricia about healing, since that's the theme for today?
Hello, everyone. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, I'm here. I maybe Loretta got disconnected.
Veretta, are you still on the line with us? She may have had some emergency in the background, so these things do happen.
Here. I'm in here.
Oh, okay, great.
I'm here. Sorry, guys.
Still glad.
Yeah, I do. I have a lady that's in real close to being in transition, so I have to keep close tabs on her. No, yes, it's a good thing. She's ready to go, and everybody else is ready for her to go, so it's a good thing. We worked through a lot of damage in this lady, I'll tell you that. She had a very damaged soul when I come onto the scene, and she was a hurt little girl at 85 years old, ready to beat anybody up. So it's been a passion of mine to do that. And you know what, Amanda, now that you've reminded me, I think we're going to get some more for healing. But back to Patricia. So you're going to have to get mad, or at least honor the mad, acknowledge that it's there. No matter what it is, make peace with it, even if it's to say, I don't want to carry that weight anymore. Because emotion has weight to it. When you look at your body and you feel your essence and you let something go, you feel that release. So I think Amanda probably has, I'm feeling very close to saying 3 or 4 oils that she can suggest for you for the healing aspect of the mad, the angry. And you know what, it might not even be a big thing, but it's a big thing to you, so then it qualifies. Don't make it trivial. Don't let anybody else make it trivial. Whatever you're going through, make them honor you by owning it. And or when I say that, just remove yourself from that space. If they decide to come say, I'm sorry, then they'll do it, but don't pursue it anymore. And quit carrying that stuff. Ernesto, can you pinpoint or give her more, or do you want us to just give her into Amanda maybe?
Well, what I'm picking up, Patricia, here in your chart when it comes to healing is like I don't know if this is a family relationship or what type of relationship this is, but there is somebody in your life where there is, like some fractures. There is something that was broken off or maybe didn't end well, and that this is causing a lot of, like, for the lack of a better word, pissy behavior on your part. And it's just sort of like, why does it have to be like this? And it just causes pain and suffering and despair. That's all totally unnecessary. Yeah. I do feel that this will improve, and that there is some healing that will happen there, and it'll be successful. I also feel that the nature of that healing just very simply deals with actions more so than conversation. So words don't really do a whole lot in this situation. It's going to be what you do through your own actions that's going to cause this to heal itself. So that would be my main takeaway. And I don't know what the resistance is here on this part on your end that's causing it to happen. So maybe Amanda has some insight here as to some oils or some other tools that would be helpful to facilitate that whole process. But that's what I'm getting, is that there is some damage around a fractured relationship, and that's on the verge of being healed, and it's almost there, but we just need that extra push. Amanda, what you got?
Yeah, Patricia, as I mentioned earlier, when we're angry at somebody, that is really only damaging yourself. You know, as much as you wish that those daggers were going into them because you want them to feel what you felt, it just doesn't work that way. So for you, like, you know, Veretta's like, get angry, do it, like, feel the emotions, but then make sure your body calms down, because you don't want to create disease within yourself. That's the last thing we want for you and you want for yourself. So the oils, get mad, but then use that release oil. So that release oil over your liver and just like let it out, and then use the forgiveness, because you have to really, it's everybody. The forgiveness is one of our biggest challenges. And look up the Ho'oponopono prayer, the Hawaiian prayer. Look, you know, say that as well with it, and then you might want to use some other oils just to really make sure you keep that vibration high within yourself. So you can either use the Harmony oil, apply that to all your chakras, or we actually have an oil called Joy, and Joy is a really beautiful one to put on your heart chakra. But just, you know, bring it back to you. Let it go. Get angry, get mad, release the emotions, never hold the emotions in. Oh my God, never hold them in. Let them out, but then put your body back into harmony and joy after you do so.
Perfect.
And, you know, and just to piggyback on that, I'm going to let you know, Patricia, that by going through that whole process, I really feel like that the thing that will be the aid to the most to you in healing from this damaged relationship has to deal with your own personal intuition, and that is something that will all be unleashed and unlocked as a result of you raising your own frequency. So I really absolutely resonate with what Amanda's, you know, talking about here, because I feel like that at the moment that's a little bit of a block, and that there's some hesitation, you know, like but that's really what the hesitation is about, is just that these skills have not quite developed yet for you to be able to say, oh, this is the action, or this is the thing that I need to do. And just to reiterate again, that words aren't going to do a whole lot in this scenario. They may help, but I wouldn't really count on them. It's just going to be what you're going to do to get through to that person by action. So I feel that you will be drawn to things. Spirit will pull you in certain directions based off of how you open up yourself. And this is absolutely a guarantee in this whole process, is that when we look outside of ourselves and start to see other things, then we will experience things beyond our wildest imaginations. And also, Amanda gave us in our YouTube chat here some really helpful advice. The Ho'oponopono prayer, which just says, "I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you." That's the order I've always remembered it in. And you can even find a Ho'oponopono meditation on YouTube, and that's free, and I've actually even done it before. And what it does to lift all of the junk out of your soul is really quite amazing. It helped me in the healing process quite tremendously. So I hope that these things will work for you also, and I just wanted to pass that along.
Yes, I wholeheartedly, I really wholeheartedly support the Ho'oponopono. Because as you get into it and you're releasing it, it's "I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you."
90 seconds.
Like I said, emotion carries weight to it, and as you start to release, you're going to feel that lightness. You're going to feel that lift. And then your brain is going to get into a position of, well, do I want to go back into that space? Not really. It really sucks. Then don't. Forget that it exists and go on with the happy. I mean, if it's going to remind you, it's going to remind you. But the reality of it is it doesn't have to make life pissy. It can make life bearable once you understand and know that you are doing what you're supposed to.
60
Even if somebody
seconds.
else isn't doing or pulling their weight, that's not on you. And I think that's a lot of the frustration. So let it go. Other people aren't going to really meet demands every time we think we need them, and whether they're important or not, it doesn't matter. They're important enough to us to ask, and they're important. So get in that space where you can receive different information from different people and allow them to give you the sense of presence of mind. And like Amanda can give you the oils and tell you what you're doing. Other people can tell you to meditate. But the reality of it is you got to get in your heart first, get straight with whatever order it needs to happen in, and do it. And I think that's what Ernesto is saying, is just do it. Don't talk about it. Don't give anybody a heads up. Just be in that space to let people go. And if they need to know it, okay. Otherwise, just wait for them to
10
show up and say,
seconds.
hey, didn't you get the memo? You're not on my list of important anymore. Thank you very much. Go away. That's simple.
Yes.
And you're taking care of yourself, sweetheart. Perspective on it, you're taking care of yourself. And that's important enough.
Yes. I just probably need to do the Ho'oponopono more frequently. I've been doing EFT and
That's good too.
yeah.
That's
and,
good too,
and,
especially when you're using it. And the oils really complement that. I'll tell you what, the oils really complement, because you're pinpointing a spot, you're opening an area up. And as you do the EFT, the tapping allows the energy to recreate itself, and the knowledge in your brain is that's a positive thing. So every time you tap, every time you smell whatever it is that Amanda is giving you, you're going to recreate that scene. Your brain's going to go to the, well, we relax now, this is where we like it. Forget about getting mad. Stay in this calm scene, and that's your new normal, sweetheart.
yes, yes. Thank you all, and I'm gonna learn some other modality. Was it EMDR? Start reading about it.
Good.
And that will help as well. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but just amp it up more so than ever.
Good.
Thank you
Glad
very
to hear
much, and
You're welcome.
may that lady transition peacefully.
She is. Everybody's overwhelmed the fact that I've got her in that submissive place. And I don't mean submissive like I beat her into it. I mean submissive like I felt like common love was not enough, and I gave her the unconditional stuff. I've been here just a little over a year, and she's transitioned her timeline 3 times. This is the 3rd time that it's been delayed or pushed back. And you can absolutely do that, but I think this is the end zone for her, and she's getting in a good space. I'm going to keep her like that and let her die with a smile on her face if that's what it takes. That's how I run my show. So, Ernesto, are we ready to wrap it up?
Yep, we are ready to wrap it up. Thank you, Patricia, so much for calling. We'll catch up with you on a future show, and we wish you all the best. Many blessings. Until next time. Okay, Amanda, thank you so much for joining us today. It really does mean a lot to us to have you on the show. There's your round of applause.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. It was so great to have you. So we will be back with you
Thank
guys
you.
again on the 27th, next Thursday, for a 1-hour call-in program where we'll be taking your questions. That will be from 6 to 7 p.m. Arizona time. For all other things Uranian Astrology, be sure to check out our Patreon page. My website is currently down. So you can find our Patreon page over on our link tree, and you can also get in touch with Veretta at verettavision.com. On our Patreon page, we will paste all of the links and things that Amanda has been describing today so that you can join her seminar and buy some of those oils in that exclusive package. All some really great things. We thank you so much for being with us here today. As always, our 4th episode of the Alchemy Annex. Very much enjoying this new format of show. So we will catch you guys all soon. And until next time, good luck and Godspeed.
And many blessings. Bye-bye.
Bye.